Next up, we have Doniella Maher, a full-time Kenyatta College English instructor and organizer for early care and education for all in South San Francisco.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. So I want to try to tie some of what Jessica was saying about the experience of part-timers in our district to sort of the larger questions around funding for education, but then more specifically also related to the work that I've been doing in South San Francisco. So I am an English faculty member, but as sort of like a labor of love, I got drawn into this early care and education project in South San Francisco. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but first I kind of want to connect the conditions of part-timers in our district to the work and also to a larger vision of what education can look like if we want it to and if we invest in it. And so the dependence on the exploitation of part-time faculty who make less than full-time faculty, I think needs to be understood as part of a broader movement of deprofessionalization that we've seen across education, healthcare, social service, and other sectors that have long been female dominated. Much of this work can be categorized as what's called caring labor or effective labor. It's work that requires in-person engaged and emotional interaction. So it's like work that robots basically can't do. You can't like have a robot watch your kid and prevent them from killing themselves, right? You can't have a robot like therapize you, like you don't want robot therapy. You want a real person. And so caring labor or effective labor like really requires that human interaction. But unfortunately, the reality of sexism and racism in our society have meant that caring labor, which disproportionately includes women and often women of color, is paid less than work that requires similar levels of education and experience. And two-tiered systems then within caring labor means that a sector of that workforce makes even less than the already low wages associated with those kinds of jobs. So like, a teacher notoriously makes terrible money, right? But then like a part-time teacher makes even worse money than that. And so part-time faculty are part of this two-tiered system, but so are many other teachers across lower grade levels. And if you look across effective labor or caring labor, there are all sorts of these two-tiered systems that exist. So early educators, and this is educators for the levels before kindergarten, have long experienced both the low wages in education more generally and a system that treats them differently than teachers in K through 12 with similar levels of education and experience. And these are also folks who are more likely to be working class women of color in these jobs. At the same time, it's early educators who make it possible for other working class women to work. Since they rely on preschools and daycares for childcare during the day. So you have this contradiction, which is that, like those folks who are, like mostly exploited within our society are expected to care for children so that women who are also exploited in the workforce can take their children to work or can go to work, don't have to take their children to work. And so this, if we kind of then narrow this down to our experience in the Bay Area, we can see that, while the cost of childcare has increasingly been becoming a crisis across the nation, when you live in an expensive place like the Bay Area, that crisis is even felt more strongly because the cost of living is generally higher, and then the cost of childcare is also higher. Affordable childcare is difficult to find, and there are many rules around affordable childcare and very few slots to put your children into. So to address this concern, the concern around childcare specifically, I worked with a group of activists and teachers and parents who came together to propose a solution specifically for South San Francisco, which I think is really a vision of like what funding for education could look like. And I also should mention James Coleman, who spoke earlier, actually was foundational to this because he ran, when he ran for city council, on a platform that included expanding childcare and preschool in South San Francisco. So our ballot measure will be on the November ballot. Fingers crossed, we're very close. And it will provide free pre-K and childcare for all kids in South San Francisco between the ages of 2.5 to 5. The bill will be paid for by a tax on commercial office spaces. So it will be one of those progressive parcel taxes that James was talking about. And importantly, it's also going to raise the wages of childcare workers to at least make 230% of South San Francisco minimum wage. So currently, many childcare workers make the minimum wage in South San Francisco, which is just over $15 an hour, but our measure will raise that to over $30 an hour. We worked with a group of in-home childcare providers, unions, childcare advocates, teachers, and community members. We spent 7 months meeting to design the ballot measure to make it, what we really thought would be good for the community. And then starting in January, we began to collect signatures to qualify for the ballot. We were a completely volunteer operation of about 30 to 40 volunteers, and we've now collected almost 5,000 signatures, and we need to collect about 1,000 more in the next 2 weeks to make sure that we'll be on the ballot in November. And I guess I just want to close by saying that, we're regular people who decided that we wanted to make a change in South San Francisco and came together and have worked tirelessly to make this happen. And so I think, we're all regular people in this room who can come together and fight tirelessly to make other amazing things happen. And so I hope that it can be sort of an inspiration. And then lastly, I'll just say, I'll put in the chat information if you're interested in the ballot measure or want to get involved. You can find information at the website that I'll put in there. And we also have opportunities for paid internships if you're interested in that. So thank you.